Hello, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching. Hopefully, you're watching live. Welcome to True, day number 4, a 21-day self-coaching, self-discovery journey designed to help you live 2022 as your best year yet. I'm your host, Miles Grant. Great to have you here with us. If you're just arriving, make sure that you have a fresh notepad. If you've not been on previous sessions, this is not your ordinary Facebook or YouTube live where somebody kind of gives you a motivational rant and talks at you. This is a coaching session. And so by that, what I'm going to be doing during this 21 days is I'm going to be coaching you on 21 life components that have been carefully curated and thought out. And today's a really, really important one. If you missed the previous days, they're available on the Facebook page, on our YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be looking at family life. And for me, this is a really, really key area. You see, I think a lot of people, when they set their New Year's resolutions, they plan their goals for the year ahead. Family is probably, for many people, not necessarily at the top. A lot of people, when they think about the year ahead, setting goals, the immediate ones, the obvious, usual suspects are health, money, career, they're the obvious ones. Travel is often on there for people. Family kind of finds itself a little bit way down the list. And from my personal experience, I found it to be that when this area isn't working, it can negatively impact every area. When this area is working well, it makes every other area so much easier. You see, I grew up on a council estate in Birmingham. I was raised by my mum, a single parent who truly did the best that she could with the resources she had to raise me. She was an incredible mum for me growing up. Dad wasn't present. So that led me to have a lot of self-doubt, conflict, relationship problems, a lot of self-sabotaging patterns and behaviors, some of which still exist today, right? You know, I do a lot of inner work on myself, and a lot of coaching, a lot of counseling, a lot of therapy, but there's still things there that come up every now and again. But through many failed relationships, I eventually managed to, I believe, curate me to be at a standard that was worthy of attracting into my life, who has now become my beautiful best friend and wife, Mrs. Sati Grant. And we now have the beautiful Sage, who some of you may see pictures. And the reason I tell you that is not to impress upon you, but you know, you may say, but Miles, I already have a great home life, great family life. How does this session relate to me? Well, if you're watching this video and you already have a great family life, then this video is just going to take it to whatever you consider to be your next level. So stick around. And if you don't consider yourself to have a great family life, then I think this video is really going to help you to curate that. So one of the things I believe about family is, for me, family is about choice. I believe family isn't just about the people that you're related to, because everybody has people in their life that are blood, you know, that they get on really well with. A lot of people do, that I know. But there's also people that you may have in your life that are blood that you don't get on well with. And often in times, what happens is we then go out and we seek out friends. We'll talk about friends in another video, to create and fill those emotional gaps where we don't necessarily have the ideal family life. And I definitely didn't have the ideal family life in terms of growing up without father present. But what it did is it created a version of me that wouldn't exist today if it weren't for that experience. It created effectively me that is now here coaching you today. I always say if I hadn't had the what seemed like misfortune as a child of growing up without a father, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. I wouldn't be the father that I am today. And it potentially wouldn't have led me down the road of coaching. One of the greatest things I've learned is that if we're going to look at areas of our past where we've had a situation that we maybe wouldn't have chosen, that we need to learn to blame effectively. And what that means is to see that everything that happens in our life is an opportunity for growth. Whatever bad situation happens, not only is there always someone out there that's had something worse, but if we hold on to the belief that what we've experienced in the past was painful, then what that does is that just recreates that pain years after the event. And the problem with that is it keeps us in a negative emotional loop, which then when we are with the family that we love and want to be with, it can create disassociation because we can become emotionally triggered in present events by things that happened years ago. So what we're going to do in this session tonight is I'm going to give you some coaching questions to help you to elicit what would make your family life even better. And just to remind you before we get into this session that if you're watching this video and you don't consider yourself to have a family, remember, family is a choice. Family is not about, in my world, it's not about blood. It is about the people that you consciously decide to have in your life. One of our human needs is connection and love. We have to be around other people. We're not polar bears in the wild who can just mate and then go off for 18 months and exist by ourselves. We don't work like that. We're a cohesive species. And so family doesn't mean blood for me. Family means blood and or people that become like blood by earning their way into your life, by the way that they treat you, by the way that they love you, by the way that they respect you. So what I'm going to do, grab a notepad, grab a pen, close down whatever other applications you've got open, and get ready for some powerful coaching. So I'm just going to bring up my slides. You should be able to, in a second, see my screen. And we're going to get straight into the coaching. So, first question or statement that I want you to think about tonight is what your ideal family life looks and feels like. So I just want you to take a moment and just write down, what does your ideal family life look and feel like? Take a moment to just, maybe just in some single words, what does your ideal family life look and feel like? What does it feel like? What does it look like? Who's there? What are you doing? What does your ideal family life look like? Next, for this to become a reality this year, I'd have to stop. So let's make the assumptions that all of us have good habits, good behaviors, good traits, good characteristics. Let's also make the assumption that we have some characteristics, some habits, some traits that are maybe not so good. There's always room for growth, right? So imagining that it were fully in your control for you to have the ideal family life. And just to remind you, that doesn't mean, like some Hollywood movie. And if you're a single person right now who isn't married, who doesn't have children, or you've split up from your partner, or you don't speak to your children, for this to become reality this year doesn't necessarily even mean that you fix those relationships. It might. It doesn't have to mean that. What it could mean is that there are friends in your life that you'd have to start spending more time with. But for the moment, we're looking at what you'd have to stop. So for this to become a reality this year, what would you have to stop doing? Maybe you'd have to stop blaming, judging, complaining about how things aren't the ideal way that you want them to be. What would you have to stop doing? And then following on from that, what would you have to start doing for this to become a reality this year? So for you to have the ideal family life this year, if it were possible for that to become a reality this year, what would you have to start doing? I don't want to say too much because I want to give you the space to come up with your answers from within. What would you have to start doing? Next, the long-term consequences of not prioritizing this area of my life are. So what are the long-term consequences of not making family, whether that be blood family, whether that be friendship family? What are the long-term consequences of not prioritizing this area? When I didn't prioritize this area, I was lonely. I was pretty miserable. Like I was spending a lot of time by myself, claiming that I was independent and I didn't need other people. But in actual fact, I was desperately yearning for connection. What are the long-term consequences of you not prioritizing this area? Next, a person or persons that already have my desired result that I could ask for help include. Who is a person or a persons that you already know or that you know of that could help you, that already have that result already? Years ago, when I was a single man going through multiple failed relationships, my relationship role models were my uncle Lee and my auntie Rhonda, who had and still have had a long, extensive marriage and 2 children. At the time of me, my mum's brother, spending a lot more time with him in my early 20s. And although very, very different human beings, Lee being a fitness enthusiast and Rhonda being the complete opposite, a church-going Christian, both beautiful human beings in their own right. For me, their ability to be in a long-term marriage with love and be together unconditionally for as long as they had, for me, was like relationship role models. So you don't have to think about, it doesn't have to be some big mentor on YouTube or something. It could just be, maybe there's a couple that you know that are a lot older, that are older than you, that you see them as an example to. If it is in fact love, for me, when I was single, it was love. I was like, how do I have love that's long lasting? Who could I see as a role model? And that was it for me. So who is a person or persons that you already have your desired result that you could ask for help? Next, 3 words that would define me at my absolute best in this area are, if you think about this family life area, what would be 3 words that would, if you were living those words every single day, would define you at your absolute best? If you don't know the answer, you might want to think about, if you're at your funeral and your closest family and friends were giving a eulogy about you, what would be the 3 words that they would describe you when it comes to how you showed up as a family person? What would be your 3 words? Okay, next. With me living my 3 words in this area, life will be better in the following ways. So how will life be better when you are living those 3 words every single day? A simple habit that would help me to live into my 3 words each day is, what is a really practical, simple, easy to implement habit that would help you live into your 3 words each day? One of mine, one of my, probably over the past 2 years, one of the areas that I've fallen down the most on is friendships. And over the past 2 years, we've started a new business, we've had our first child, we've had the pandemic, so it's been a lot. And so something had to give, and the thing that has given is friendships. And a simple habit that I have introduced over the past year is, when a friend just pops into my head or a family member pops into my head, I will send them some form of message just to check in, to see how they are, just a form of appreciation, just to check in. And for me, that's a really simple habit. It's not pick up the phone, but it's some form of communication to show that I care. So it's really important that this is something easy and simple, and isn't something that is going to make you think, oh, I don't have the time or the energy to do that. Simple habit that you could help you each day. What would that be? By the way, feel free, as you're watching this live, if you want to put it in the chat, feel free to do that. Feel free to put it into the chat. A small step that I will take today towards achieving my ideal, sorry, the word is wrong there. A small step that I'll take today towards achieving my ideal family life this year is, what would that step be? So maybe the simple habit that you've just decided, what would that simple habit be to help you towards achieving your ideal family life this year? And as always in this challenge, what I would like to do is give you some accountability. So once you've decided what your action or your habit is, post it in the comments below. Make sure you put it in there. And then once you've done that action, you've taken that, go back to your comment, put it in the comments underneath, so that I know that you've actually taken that action. That is my way of giving you accountability over this next 21 days to make sure that you actually follow through and do what you said you were going to do. So that's it for tonight. That is tonight's coaching. Very, very simple, common sense questions that aren't necessarily common practice. I hope you've enjoyed this evening. Like I said, make sure you have put your action in the comments box. Otherwise, I can't hold you accountable. So make sure you put your action in the comments. Other than that, all there is for me to say is our next session will be on Monday night, 6 p.m. UK time. So I'll see you then. So for now, have a great weekend.